Welcome to Pioneers in Payments, where payments experts share their insights. Now, here's our host, Donna Blum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Pioneers in Payments. Today, I have the great pleasure of welcoming back my friend Dale Laszig. Welcome, Dale.
Thank you, Donna. It's so great to see you again.
I'm so glad you were able to join us again. I know there's been some changes in your world since the last time we spoke on the podcast. And so kind of looking forward to hearing more about what you're up to today.
Thank
But
you.
for the benefit of our guests who maybe didn't catch our first episode together, would you mind filling them in on who you are, your background in the payments industry, and the work that you do at DSL Direct?
Thank you, Donna. Well, I was writing before I even knew about payments, but now I'm putting the two of those together to help payment professionals tell a better story. And as a journalist, I write about our industry. As a content creator, I write for our industry. And I work with individuals and I work with organizations and I work for a number of trade publications. I really enjoy working with them and publishing articles and blogs, and it's just been such a great journey.
That's fantastic. Well, I know you have a great deal of knowledge about the payments industry, past, present, and future. We just kind of want to pick your brain a little bit here today. So obviously, there's always a lot going on in the industry, a lot of transformation and innovation. What would you say is the greatest or the most notable trend, I should say, today in the industry?
Probably the most notable trend that I can think of right now is infrastructure. Um, I think that's really where the action is in payments today. As AI becomes increasingly embedded, enterprises need a way to support it safely and responsibly. And I've been exploring that in my current series with the Green Sheet. I've been writing about agentic commerce. And the experts I've been interviewing have all emphasized the need for an infrastructure that has the strength and the resilience to support the security, intelligence, and trust that all of that AI powered technology requires. And it's not just about speed and efficiency anymore. It's really a lot more than that. And that's why I think infrastructure is a very big trend at the moment.
Yeah, AI is most definitely changing the entire landscape. The way we've done payments in the past is is uh, is no more, right?
Right.
This is a whole new ball game with AI, and you're right, infrastructure is a huge piece of that. So, um, I think a lot of organizations are trying to balance, how what jobs do we need to maintain as, people filled, and what jobs can we maybe perhaps eliminate or scale back and use, leverage AI. And it's not an area where you want to make a mistake, right? I've actually heard of organizations where they have changed their infrastructure so much they've gotten rid of entire teams only to find out that a simple issue that would have been caught by a human was overlooked by AI, and now they have a big problem. So, hopefully that is not, the norm, but I do see AI as being a fantastic tool and is only going to drive the industry forward. So,
I agree, and that's why I didn't want to just say it, because if I just say AI like everyone else, then it really, what is it? Everybody has a different opinion and a different way of implementing it, and I don't even think we agree on whether or not we're in early days or we're in a mature phase with AI. I think in the payments industry, you could make the case that we're relatively mature with the way that we use AI, because if you look at Visa and MasterCard, those are arguably AI native companies that have been using AI for decades.
That's true. That is so true. There's a lot of others that are just getting started with it, but I think everybody in the industry recognizes that they have to embrace AI, and I think for the most part, at the events that I've attended, it is viewed as a real tool, as something that's going to benefit everyone in the long run. So, of course, we all know the bad actors are also using it, but
Yeah, of course.
it should help us to hopefully stay ahead of them. So, so that's kind of the most notable trend right now. What would you say is the greatest opportunity for organizations that process payments?
I think probably organizations that process payments, the biggest opportunity that I can think of is leveraging our payment rails. We figured out years ago how to add value on top of those rails, and in the last few decades we've really created an entire ecosystem. And I think the opportunity right now is to use those rails as a foundation for intelligence, insight, and integration across a broader business. And I think companies like BHMI are a good example. I think your Concord financials, with the way that you manage high volume settlement and reconciliation, and your event monitor that provides real time intelligence around payment flows, I think those are great examples of how we can do much more than just process payments.
Right. Yeah. It's I think that's what differentiates organizations in this industry now. It's a lot of people might think that payments are a commodity, right? But it's how we as organizations build our business around providing value as a result of those payments. How do we not just make the payments faster, but how do we enable payments based on what our customers want, right? How do we solve their pain points in the payments area, and how do we make their businesses that much more um, desirable by their clients, right? Like, how are they able to serve their clients better? So it's not a commodity. I think it's a misnomer that payments are payments are payments, and that everybody's doing it the same way. There's a lot of opportunity for differentiation.
I agree. I agree. And while you were saying that, I just found myself wishing that I could be a fly in the room while you're on a sales call, because I would just give anything to listen in on one of your conversations with a prospective client or an existing client, and just hear how you navigate that whole conversation. But I mean, for me, when I think about payments, I have to agree. I mean, we've been at the Green Sheet, which I do a lot of work with the Green Sheet, and our primary readership are the people who are selling services, and they've had to become more consultative in recent years. And when I think about payments, yes, payments are a commodity, but they're the beating heart of commerce. I mean, I go all the way back to business school when I learned that accounting is the language of business. But But if accounting is the language of business, then payments must be the beating heart that actually makes everything move and change and grow and scale. I mean, where would you be without the metrics and the intelligence and all of the things that are interconnected with payments? And I think it's a huge opportunity for anybody. And we've done such a remarkable job building all around that. But I just think maybe, maybe it's time to go back to the basics and recognize how valuable and important payments really are.
I love that. So you said the beating heart of commerce? I've never even thought of that. So true though. It's at the very core of commerce, not just in our country. I mean, around the whole globe, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and so, as we become increasingly embedded in larger systems, I think it's worth noting that the element that we bring is extremely well developed. It's very secure, it's very agile, it's very cutting edge, and it's really like at the epicenter of everything else that goes on in your enterprise. The payments part is absolutely critical, but also you don't have to worry about it because we spent 40 years tuning it up, architecting it, making it stronger, more secure, more intelligent, more agile, etc. And we talk a lot about payments enablement. I think that to a certain extent, we've been enabling business at a very elemental level. I guess I could keep on waxing poetic about our role. But I love it. I can never get enough.
Well, I just love to think that, what we do impacts everybody in the world,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, well, okay, so we talked about the greatest opportunity. What would you say is the biggest challenge these organizations that process payments are facing today?
I think the biggest challenge for anybody in our space is managing complexity because when you think about payments, we're actually at the intersection of AI, security, regulation, real-time expectations, and all of that complexity just keeps on growing. And we're asked to do more in real time with these expectations, and we need the to be flexible enough, resilient enough, robust enough to pull it all together, orchestrate all of the disparate parts. And absolutely, I would say complexity is our biggest challenge and has been for quite a while.
It has been. And I would say that's kind of one of the reasons why we started this podcast to begin with is how do we kind of distill all that's happening in the industry and get some advice from some of the pioneers in the industry to help all the others, because it is so complex. Um, I I'm glad I don't have to develop a payment ecosystem. We help our clients, but they've already got one in place. We just help them to improve it. But very complex, and just getting more and more so as the years go on. So, Dale, now this is my favorite question. Uh, if you had to just kind of, you know, pull all of your information, your knowledge, your experience together and give our audience one silver bullet piece of advice, what would that be?
I think if I have a silver bullet at all, it would be about your the importance of having a clear messaging. Because we've all become very good at what we do, but we don't always have the ability to explain what makes us different, what makes us valuable, what makes us integral to the overall ecosystem in which we all participate and support and champion. I think that messaging is really critical. And I mean, I'm not even really putting in a shameless plug right now just because I'm in the communications business. I came into this business because I recognized how important it is. And I just felt like maybe this is the best place for me. It's the best platform to use my talent and my passion for storytelling, brand voice. I think you can be out there doing amazing things and innovating, but if you don't have a clear way of getting that message across and reaching your target audience, you'll be left behind. And I never want that to happen for any of us.
Yeah, I agree with you. I came up through the ranks in marketing and have certainly written my share of articles and press releases and those kinds of things. And communication and messaging is very, very critical in any business, not just in payments. And I would say that because it is a complex industry, it means the messaging needs to be that much more succinct and clear, and get the point across, because, well, there could be a lot of confusion otherwise. So I want to thank you for what you do. And by the way, this is the perfect place to put in a shameless plug for DSL Direct. In fact, I would love for you to share a little bit more about your journey, what's behind the name and what services do you provide today?
Oh, thank you, Donna. Well, when I look back at my career in our industry, it feels like we grew up together. We went from analog to digital and from standalone to integrated, um, from wired to wireless, from dormant to sentient. And through it all, through all of my iterations, I've always really valued the story. And it's always really been important to me to understand where we've been so that we can really have a clear roadmap to where we're going. And that's why I formed my LLC almost 20 years ago. And I called it DSL Direct because I wanted to bring my direct experience and knowledge to my clients and the publications that I'm working with. And it's been a great ride. And one of the things that really hit home about the journey is the many rich relationships that we've all forged along the way. I mean, that became very clear to me last week when I attended the Northeast Acquirers Conference. It was their 41st annual conference. And for once, I wasn't there to write a recap of the show. I was there because I was in the show. I had the honor of participating in a judging panel on the first day with industry luminaries, Kevin Woodward, who's a digital transaction journalist, and Lane Gordon from 733 Park, and Bruce Urbanek from PJC. And we judged a competition that was opened up to not just tech startups, but everybody in our industry. And we just saw so much talent on that stage. We had 18 contestants in back-to-back 5-minute demos with a 5-minute Q&A. And and it was a tough, tough decision, but we weren't the only ones judging. There was also an AI judging, and then there was the audience judging. And the winners were just, they just represented, well, everybody on the stage represented the very best of our industry. Uh, Forward thinking, innovative, problem solving. It was just a real high. And that same day, the first day, I also attended the Paytech Women breakout session, which was phenomenal. I got to meet Dr. Gail Burgos for the first time, an absolutely fabulous leader. And she had a great session. And I remember Dawn Delaney presented with JP Morgan Chase, and she was talking about just the value of asking for feedback, even if it's not good feedback. Just really the importance of asking for honest feedback. And she mentioned that in her career, she would go and ask people to give her feedback, even if she knew that it wasn't going to be positive, because she really wanted to learn from that. And that was incredibly powerful. And then the following day, I had a fireside chat with Abby Gustitis, an Olympian who was recruited by Visa and was part of the Visa Champion program. And what a magical moment that was to share her insights with our audience. And ironically, she made the same comment about asking for feedback. And I mean, that really resonated with me. But I think what's really funny too, when I think about Abby and, just the tremendous excitement, the standing ovation, the Olympian song that was playing when she walked onto the stage. And I think about our last chat back in, I think it was 2022, the last time that we chatted on this podcast. And I said, it's time for us all to stop working out in front of a gym mirror because there are bigger things out there. And I find it incredibly ironic because my favorite workout is a pure bar and the bar method. I love bar workouts, and you do quite a bit of mirror work with those workouts. And this year, the ladies at the gym said, "Gee, Dale, you're here every single day. What's up?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to be interviewing an Olympian. I want to be at my best." And they love that, and they celebrated that, and they said, "Please send us a picture. We want to put it on our Instagram." And they made a big fuss. And after the fireside chat with Abby, I mentioned to everyone, if you want to get a photo with Abby, we're going to be in the exhibit hall. And so as we were walking over to the exhibit hall, I mentioned to Abby, you know what? I really want to thank you, because before we even did this, you made a huge difference in my life. I've been to the gym every single morning, whether I felt like it or not. And she turned to me and she lit up and she said, "Because you were going to interview an Olympian." And I said, yes. The exact same thing I told the ladies at the gym. It was just beautiful. But what else I learned about this whole thing about wanting to be part of something bigger? What didn't occur to me is I kept saying we need to go out into the world. We need to be part of bigger verticals, but it never occurred to me that we also need to let other people in. It's not just us leaving. It's about us welcoming all of the newcomers, the incoming technologies, the I mean, above all, AI. We're not going out to meet AI. AI is coming in to meet us. And that might seem like a hair split, but to me, it's a really important distinction.
I agree. Yeah. It's coming. It's absolutely coming. Whether we want it or not, it's coming. I personally want it, but
Yeah, no, AI is in the room.
yes, it is. It is. And really, I mean, you and I go to a fair number of events in the industry, and it's a major topic everywhere we go because it's a true game changer. Yeah. Well, we've kind of come full circle now in our conversation. So, Dale, just one last question. So, how do you help clients? Like they engage you to help tell their stories, to help tell about their products, about what kinds of things do you do specifically for your clients? Do you help them to write articles and press releases? Yeah, just wanted to know what services you provide.
I help people expand reach by getting into trade publications. Uh, and I do that in a number of different ways, but I mean, it's different with every client. It's because I'm a consultant. I mean, it's basically sitting down, having a discovery call, figuring out how we can amplify the messaging. But in a lot of cases, it comes back to helping them get published in a trade magazine, and that could be in the form of an interview, or it could be helping them create something. I've been very fortunate in my career to have worked with some very talented editors, and Laura McHale Holland being one of them. She's editor in chief of the Green Sheet, and she's really been a force in my career. She's helped me really polish my editorial skills, and I just really want to pay that forward to other people in our industry and even outside of our industry.
That's great. Well, thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
And if somebody wanted to learn more about DSL or DSL Direct, I should say, which, by the way, that's your initials, correct? Where would they go? Do you have a website? Is there any other information you would want to share?
Sure. My website's dsldirectllc.com. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm very active on LinkedIn. And and my email is Dale at dsldirectllc.com. And I'd love to hear from you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dale. It was just such a pleasure chatting with you again and just kind of hearing where you are today. Still involved with the Greed Sheet, but also, pursuing. You've hung out your own shingle. It sounds like you hung the shingle out, what, 20 years ago, but
Yeah.
you're really working in that space now. So that's great. And I do want to thank everybody for watching today as well. Bye now.